Hello and welcome back in, everybody. Today is the first episode of my brand new series, Who's That Commander? So I pretty much started this in my last video with Legolas, where I'm just going to go over some of the lesser known commanders, try to put some of the thoughts into how the decks should be built or some ways that it could be built. So obviously they're going to be a little bit shorter than my normal videos, some of my personal deck techs and stuff like that. However, I'm just going to kind of give you a little idea of where I think you could take the deck. So for the first episode here, I've got Gollum, Obsessed Stalker. It's 1 in a black for a legendary creature, Halfling Horror. It's a 1/1 with Skulk. It says at the beginning of your end step, each opponent dealt combat damage this game by a creature named Gollum Obsessed Stalker loses life equal to the amount of life you gain this turn. Everything you need to know about this deck's right on the commander. You're going to need to get him out as soon as you can, hit all your opponents at least once with him, and then gain a bunch of life. So it's a mono black life gain deck. So the first thing we're going to want to do with this commander is get in with the combat damage. Having Skulk is nice, however, they can block with the 1/1s. So having something like Prowler's Helm can really help get us through with that damage. It's a 2-mana equipment. Equipped creature can't be blocked except by walls, equip 2. So unless your opponents have a changeling or a wall, it's pretty much unblockable. That's a great one to get our Gollum through early if we need to, or even late if we haven't hit everybody yet. But once we do hit all of our opponents, we're going to start to get into some of our life gain here. First up, I got some of our smaller ones with Tavern Swindler. It's 1 in a black, 2/2 human rogue. It says tap, pay 3 life, flip a coin. If you win the flip, you gain 6 life. So I feel like the risk to reward here is pretty worth it. You're only paying 3 life in a life gain deck. That's not that much for the opportunity to deal an additional 6 to each of your opponents on your end step with your commander's trigger. Another cheap one we got here, Chalice of Life, 3-mana artifact. Tap, you gain 1 life. Then if you have at least 10 more than your starting life total, transform Chalice of Life, and it transforms into Chalice of Death. Artifact that has tap, target player loses 5 life. So it should be pretty easy to get above 50 life in a life gain deck to get our Chalice of Life to flip over, and that can start going to town, just draining our opponents out pretty quickly. And we got some of our more expensive ones. We got Corrupt here for 5 in a black. It's a sorcery. Corrupt deals damage to any target equal to the number of swamps you control. You gain life equal to the damage dealt this way. I like that this is versatile. You can hit any target you want, you know, creature, your opponent, planeswalker, battle, whatever it is. It's good removal that way, but it also can gain you a ton of life. You know, at minimum, you're going to have at least 6 lands, most likely going to be swamps because you have 24 in the deck. So you're going to be dealing 6 damage to any target, and then an additional 6 for your commander's ability. Another big spell we got here, Sorin's Vengeance, 4 black, black, black for a sorcery. Sorin's Vengeance deals 10 damage to target player, and you gain 10 life. Again, pretty much the same thing with Corrupt. It is a lot of mana, however, I think it's worth it in the deck. If you need that last bump to push somebody over, you know, you deal the 10 damage to target player, they take another 10 on the end step. The best way to make all of our life gain spells even better is with Alhammar's Archive. It's 5-mana legendary artifact. If you would gain life, you gain twice that much life instead. If you would draw a card, except the first one you draw on each of your draw steps, draw 2 cards instead. The card draw is nice, but we're really playing this for the double life gain. That just means double our damage. Speaking of card draw, I got a few in here. We got Well of Lost Dreams, 4-mana artifact. Whenever you gain life, you may pay X, where X is less than or equal to the amount of life you gained. If you do, draw X cards. Not much to say here. It's a staple in every life gain deck. It's artifact, so it can go on all of them. You don't even have to pay the exact amount of life you gained to draw the amount of cards. If you gain 5 life, you can only pay 1 if you only have 1 up and still draw 1 card. So it's really good here. One lesser known one here, and this one's honestly more of a gimmick than anything. I just kind of want to see how it would fit in the deck, and I just want to give it a little bit of spotlight. It's Farsight Mask. It's 5 mana for an artifact. Whenever a source an opponent controls deals damage to you, if Farsight Mask is untapped, you may draw a card. So I feel with all the little incidental damage that's going out in the format, you know, if you're playing against like a Rakdos Sacrifice deck or an Aristocrats deck, something like that, just regular combat damage, you're gonna be drawing tons of cards off of this. So it can either be a card draw engine or it can protect your life total. Either way, it's a really cool card. And that brings us over to our removal category. First up, we got Witch of the Moors, 3 black, black for a 4/4 human warlock with Death Touch. At the beginning of your end step, if you gained life this turn, each opponent sacrifices a creature and you return up to 1 target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. So if you have this out, it will trigger every single end step. I can't foresee us going a single turn without gaining life with how much life gain we have in this deck. So this just really hoses some of those creature strategies that don't have a wide board as opposed to like a tall board with a Voltron or something like that. It's just a fantastic card in the deck. And then I have a ton of cards that are going to be dealing damage to creatures, destroying creatures, things like that, and that are also gaining us life. So first up for that category, we got March of Wretched Sorrow, X and a black for an instant. As additional cost to cast this spell, you may exile any number of black cards from your hand. This spell costs 2 less to cast for each card exiled this way, and it says March of Wretched Sorrow deals X damage to target creature or planeswalker, and you gain X life. So late in the game, if you really need that last little bit to push your opponents over the edge, you can exile some cards from your hand, pay all the mana that you need to into this, gain a bunch of life, then deal it all with Gollum. Similarly, we got Crypt Incursion, 2 in a black, instant, exile all creature cards from target player's graveyard. You gain 3 life for each card exiled this way. Again, later in the game, after a couple board wipes, after some mill, stuff like that, you can exile one of your opponent's graveyards that have a bunch of creatures in it, gain a bunch of life, deal a bunch of damage. Just a good finisher in the deck. And last up, we just got some general utility in the deck. First up, we got Mind Crank, 2 mana artifact. Whenever an opponent loses life, that player mills that many cards. Obviously, I think our opponents will probably lose lose to straight up damage before they get milled out, but it is nice to be able to deal with our opponent's answers just by milling them with this, especially since it hits all 3 of our opponents. Probably the most effective way for our opponents to deal with our deck is to deal with our commander. So before our end step trigger, our opponents could go to remove our commander and then we wouldn't get that trigger. All that life gain would be kind of wasted. So I threw a few cards in here like Supernatural Stamina. It's 1 black, instant. It says until end of turn, target creature gets +2/+0 and gains when this creature dies, return it to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control. So we're going to our end step, our opponents kill it, we cast Supernatural Stamina, it comes back, wasted their removal spell, and we still get our triggers. Another way any life gain deck can really suffer is through commander damage. So to deal with that, I got Sudden Spoiling. It's 1 black, instant, split second. Until end of turn, creatures target player controls lose all abilities and have base power and toughness 0/2. So say somebody's going for that Alpha Strike, going to deal more than 21 commander damage to us. Doesn't really matter what our life total is because it's going to kill us. It's nice to have something in your back pocket like this or a fog or something like that. There's not too many fogs in black, so this one's pretty nice for that. And last but not least, I just really like this card. I always wanted to put it in the deck ever since it came out. It's Profane Transfusion, 6 black, so 9 mana for a sorcery. 2 target players exchange life totals. You create an XX colorless horror artifact creature token, where X is the difference between those players' life totals. So I would just love to have, player A on your left with 40 life, player C on your right. It's kind of already given up. They kind of know they're out. Then right before your end step, you're about to kill player C, and you just swap their life totals, and player A dies instead. That just always seems like a super fun event that I'd really like to make happen. So I know it's not the best use of your mana. 9 mana, it's a lot, but I still think it would be pretty fun in the deck. So that's pretty much all I got for this deck. I have a feeling this commander could be extremely powerful, like more than you would think. It's pretty similar to like a Vito. If you want to check out his page for some more additions to this deck, they're probably pretty similar. Also, you can make this deck probably a little more competitive if you want to take out some of the more memey cards like Farsight Mask and Profane Transfusion and just go full into that life gain. But I thought I'd have a little bit more fun with it. That's pretty much all I got today. So I got a deck list down in the description if you guys want to check out the rest of the deck. And thanks so much for all the support lately. Subscribe if you want to see some more of my videos, and I'll see you guys in the next one. All right, take care.